for making my husband call his parents, leaving them speechless over a MacBook? My mother-in-law asked my 9-year-old daughter to give her cousin the MacBook that we had bought for her with a lot of effort. She did not ask her like someone telling a little girl to share a toy for a while. She said it as if it were a test. If Julia did not accept, then she should not call her grandma anymore. That night, Michael did something his parents had never seen him do. I knew something was wrong the moment Julia walked through the apartment door. She usually came in telling everything at the same time, with her sneakers barely on and her backpack falling off her shoulder. That night she came in slowly and quiet. Michael was behind her with the backpack Julia had taken to spend the afternoon at her grandparents' house. He had picked her up from their place before 6, trying to beat the rush hour traffic back to our apartment in the suburbs. My husband looked serious, with that face he makes when he tries not to let anything show. But I have been with him for years. I know how to tell when he is calm and when he is trying to seem like it. Is everything okay? I asked before the words were even out. My parents are good. Julia behaved well. Julia did not say anything. She did not even look at me. That was not normal. Sometimes kids arrive tired or wanting to be alone. But Julia walked past me, went down the hallway, and closed her bedroom door with a soft click. She did not slam the door. She just closed it, and that worried me more. Michael left the backpack by the couch. She was a little quiet in the car, he said. Maybe she is tired. Did you go inside for her or just pick her up? Just at the entrance. My mom brought her out with the backpack. I did not see anything weird. A tired Julia would have asked for something to eat. This was something else. I prepared a simple dinner. While the water was boiling, I gently knocked on her bedroom door. Julia, my love. Are you hungry? There was a pause. Not really. That was another sign. Julia believed that hunger could be fixed with cookies, fruit, or anything she found in the kitchen. When she said she was not hungry, something was up. Okay, I told her, trying to sound calm. I will leave a plate for you in case you want some later. Another pause. Yes. I turned to look at Michael. He was checking his cell phone as if he were going to find an explanation there. He looked up, saw my face, and put the phone on the table. We ate dinner, just the two of us. Julia's chair remained empty. From time to time I heard a soft movement in her room. Then silence again. After dinner, I washed the dishes with more force than necessary. Michael offered to dry them, more to keep himself busy than anything else. I dried my hands, went down the hallway, and knocked again. Julia, can I come in? She took a while to answer. Yes. I opened the door. She was sitting on the bed with her knees pulled up, staring at a spot on the rug. Her cheeks were red and her eyelashes were wet. I sat on the edge of the bed without getting too close. What happened? She shrugged her shoulders. It was a small, tired gesture. Nothing. I stayed quiet for a moment. Okay, I told her. But I know you, and I know something is bothering you. She swallowed hard. I brushed a strand of hair out of her face. Did something happen at your Grandma Diane's house? Her eyes darted toward me and then looked down. Not really. Right there I confirmed that something had happened. I did not pressure her. I stayed with her in silence until she started breathing a little better. Do you want us to read something or watch something silly for a little bit? She shook her head. Do you want me to stay with you for a few minutes? After another pause, she barely nodded. So I stayed. When her breathing calmed down, I kissed her on the forehead and wished her good night. When I went back to the kitchen, Michael was leaning against the counter. Is she okay? He asked. I do not think so, I said. Michael slowly let out his breath. My mom did not say anything weird. My dad did not either. Everything seemed normal. I was going to tell him that in his family many times normal was just a way of not talking about what was wrong. But I stopped myself. I did not want to start an argument about his parents while Julia was still locked in her room. We went to sleep. That night I barely slept. After midnight I heard a low sound of adhesive tape. That sharp pull you hear when someone is wrapping something. I sat up in bed. Michael was sleeping next to me with an arm over his face. The sound came back, followed by paper crumpling. I got up quietly and walked down the hallway. Julia's door was cracked open. A thin line of light fell on the floor. I pushed the door and stood still. Julia was sitting on the floor, surrounded by wrapping paper, tape, and a ribbon that looked like it was taken from a saved bag. In front of her was her MacBook, not the box. She was wrapping the computer itself as if it were a birthday present. "Julia," I said, careful with my voice. "My love, what are you doing?" She froze with a piece of tape stuck to her fingers. She looked up, then her face began to crumble. "I am just," she whispered. I knelt next to her. "Why are you wrapping your computer?" Her lips trembled. "I am going to give it to Logan." I just looked at her. "What?" "I am going to give it to Logan," she repeated with a broken voice. "For his birthday." Julia had wanted that MacBook more than anything else, not to show it off or just to play. She wanted it because she dreams of making videos. For her, it was the tool she used to make her projects. "Do you want to give it away?" I asked carefully. Julia nodded and finally her tears came out. "It is unfair. It is unfair that I have it and Logan does not," she said, wiping her cheeks with her hand. "I do not want to be spoiled. I do not want to be mean." I kept looking at the wrapping paper folded over the computer. That guilt had not come from her. "Who told you that?" Julia shook her head immediately, as if answering was dangerous. "Julia," I said softly, "I am not mad at you. I just need to understand." She sniffled and looked at the computer. "Who told you that you had to do this?" For a few seconds she cried in silence. Then she whispered, "My grandma Diane." I stayed still. "And my grandpa Robert was there," she added quickly, as if she did not want to leave him out. I swallowed hard. "What did your grandma Diane tell you?" Julia spoke quieter and quieter. "She said it was not right for me to have something so expensive and Logan not have anything like it. That a good granddaughter shares and that." She stopped and squeezed her eyes shut. "And what?" Julia opened her eyes and looked at me with fear. "She said that if I did not do it, I should not call her grandma anymore." There was a creak in the hallway. Michael's voice sounded still sleepy. "Sarah." I turned around. He was in the doorway with his hair messy. "What is going on?" Julia looked at him and then looked down, clutching the wrapping paper. I stood up. "Michael," I said with a tense voice. "Your mom told our daughter not to call her grandma anymore if she did not give her computer to Logan." Michael looked at me as if he had not understood. "What?" Julia nodded with a wet face. He crossed the room and knelt in front of her. "Julia," he said slowly, "your grandma told you that?" Julia nodded again. Michael's jaw clenched. He looked up at me and I saw something I almost never saw in him when it came to his parents. It was anger but also guilt. He stood up, took his cell phone out of his pocket, and stared at it for a few seconds. It was after midnight. Our daughter was crying on the floor, surrounded by wrapping paper. And my husband, who always avoided conflicts, was unlocking his phone with a strange calmness, as if he was afraid he would regret it if he waited any longer. "Michael," I started. He did not look at me. "No," he said. He said it quietly, but leaving no room to argue. 5 minutes later, Michael was calling his parents. This time he did not call to smooth things over. Before meeting Michael, I thought I understood family problems. In my house they were annoying, not harmful. Then I met Michael. Michael was calm and at first that gave me peace. He listened. He tried not to make anyone uncomfortable. I thought it was part of his character. Then I met his parents. Diane and Robert were proper and smiling. Diane spoke wonders of Michael, but her praises almost always had something underneath. "You really are responsible," she would say. "Not like others." Michael would laugh and let the comment pass. The first time I understood that I was not imagining things was when we started talking seriously about money. Michael mentioned the student loan he was still paying off. "I am still not done with that," he said. "Your parents did not help you?" "No." I waited for him to add something to explain it. He did not. "They paid for Amanda's degree," he said. "Amanda is his sister, 3 years younger." "So they paid for hers," I said slowly. "But not yours." Michael nodded as if it were normal. "And you are okay with that, Sarah?" "They said she needed it more." That phrase explained a lot of things. She needed it more. Amanda was sensitive and needed support. Michael was capable. Michael was going to be fine. Michael could handle anything, so he did. He worked while he studied, paid for his degree, and made his way without help. Amanda kept changing her major, her plan, her dream. Then Logan was born, and Logan became the center of everything. Diane and Robert spoke about him as if everything revolved around him. His needs were urgent. His disappointments became everyone's problems. And Michael was still there. He helped his parents, Amanda and Logan. Michael and I work in IT. We were not rich, but we had stable incomes. Even so, there was always a silent leak. Money leaving our account little by little. They need help, Michael would say. Just this once, I can do it. Diane liked that phrase. She congratulated him when he gave and acted offended when he hesitated. Robert stayed quiet. Michael was used to the fact that asking him for help was treated as something normal. If he said no, the conversation would go cold for days, and the favoritism did not stay among adults. Logan was treated like the child everyone had to take care of. Julia often as if she were just passing through. Diane could list Logan's likes from memory, but she forgot what Julia liked. Robert would get excited talking about Logan and then turn to Michael to ask for support. They gave Julia generic gifts, the kind you buy when you did not think much about the person. Michael did not see it or did not want to see it. I repeated to myself that it was manageable, annoying, unfair, but manageable. I also repeated something else to myself without realizing it. They might take advantage of Michael, but Julia is safe. Then came Julia's birthday a few weeks before that night. We kept it simple in our apartment in the suburbs. Close family, cake, balloons, pizza, and snacks. Julia had been talking about video editing for months, watching tutorials and recording scenes with her dolls. Michael and I saved for several months. It was not an impulse buy. It cost us around $1,600 between the computer, the case, and the extended warranty. And we bought it with rules, schedules, supervision, and no using it without asking. We wanted to support something she cared about, not just give her an expensive gift. We gave her the MacBook. When she opened it, she froze. Then she made a sound that was half laugh, half cry, and hugged us so tight I still remember it. Then I looked toward the living room. Logan was staring at the box. His face was tense, disappointed, as if someone had taken away something he was already expecting. Amanda's smile hardened. "Wow," she said too loudly. "What a little gift." "It is for her videos," Michael explained. Amanda waved her hand dismissively. "You give her something like that in front of everyone," she said, glancing sideways at Logan. "Do you have any idea how you make me look?" "How do we make you look?" "I cannot buy something like that for my son," she answered, already annoyed. Now Logan feels bad and I look like a bad mom. Julia's excitement dimmed a little. That was what bothered me the most. The speed at which an adult's anger can reach a child. Diane and Robert did nothing. They did not say it was Julia's birthday. Diane smiled without warmth. Robert looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. After that, the comments started. "Look how fancy she turned out," someone would say when Julia took out the computer. "Your mom really spoils you," Diane would say with a little laugh that was not a laugh. None of that seemed enough to make a scene, but it was enough for Julia to feel it. Since that birthday, every time Julia used the computer in front of them, someone dropped a comment. The video call connected faster than I expected. Michael chose video. He did not say why, but I understood. When you see someone's face, it is harder for them to later say that what happened did not happen. I stayed off camera a little behind Michael. Julia was sitting on her bed hugging a pillow. Diane and Robert appeared on the cell phone screen. Robert was off to the side with glasses and messy hair. "Michael," Diane said with forced sweetness. "Son, it is so late." Robert raised a hand in a small wave. They looked surprised, but not like someone who does not know anything. Michael's voice came out controlled. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Dad." Diane tried to settle in. "How is Julia? Did she have fun with us?" I gritted my teeth. Michael did not answer that. "I need to ask you something." "Ah." Michael took a deep breath. Julia was wrapping her computer tonight. She said she was going to give it to Logan for his birthday. Diane let out a short laugh. "Well, how generous." Michael did not smile. "Mom, you told her she had to do that." Diane's expression barely changed. She did not deny it. I told her to think about Logan, she answered. That is all. Michael, she added before he could speak. You bought a very expensive gift for a little girl. She is 9 years old. That is not appropriate. And Logan does not have anything like it. It is not fair. It is for editing her videos. You know that. Diane made a gesture of annoyance. It is still too much. Besides, Logan could also make use of something like that. Julia made a small sound like a cry she tried to swallow. I put a hand on her shoulder. Michael's voice dropped. Did you tell Julia that she could not call you Grandma anymore if she did not give it to him? Diane stayed quiet for a moment. I just told her that in this family we all share. That was not what I asked. Diane's eyes narrowed. I told her that if she wanted to act like part of the family, she had to think about the others. Michael looked at the screen without moving. Mom. Diane pressed her lips together. I told her that if she did not want to share, then she should not expect me to look at her the same way. Michael stayed quiet. This time he did not try to fix their discomfort. Do not ever say something like that to her again, he said. Diane opened her mouth. Michael, it is the middle of the night and... No, Michael interrupted her, but he did not raise his voice. Do not ever use Julia's affection to pressure her again. Do not make her feel guilty to take away something she cares about. And do not ever make her feel that she belongs to this family depending on what she hands over. Diane's face hardened. Robert opened his mouth a little and then closed it. There was silence. Michael did not fill it. He looked at the screen. I am not going to keep talking about this right now. And he ended the call without apologizing. Without trying to leave everything smooth. I kept looking at him. Julia too. Michael looked at his cell phone for a moment. Then he turned to our daughter and knelt in front of her. You are not going to give your computer to Logan, he told her. Do you understand me? Julia's eyes filled with tears. She nodded again. Michael carefully took her hands. You do not have to give something of yours for an adult to be happy with you. That is not right. Julia's mouth trembled. But my grandma said. What your grandma said was wrong, Michael replied. And I should have been more careful so that they would not put you in that situation. Julia looked at him, still scared. She is not going to be my grandma anymore. Michael swallowed hard. That does not depend on you, Julia. You do not have to win your grandma over by giving things away. We adults are going to solve this. You did not do anything wrong. Julia let out a shaky breath. Michael looked at me. We are not going tomorrow, he said. I nodded. I did not have to ask where. The next day, Saturday, was Logan's birthday. Michael took his cell phone and wrote a brief message. He did not argue. He did not over-explain. He did not negotiate. We are not going tomorrow. He sent it. Later, when Julia finally fell asleep, Michael sat in front of the computer. He looked exhausted. I have been paying for things for them for too long, he said. I sat next to him. I know. You told me it was temporary, that Amanda was going to settle down, that my parents would value it someday. He laughed once joylessly. And then they did this to Julia. He opened the banking app. Transfers, scheduled payments, recurring charges. Before touching anything, he checked what was extra support and what could affect something basic. He did not want to leave Logan stranded, but he did not want to keep supporting a dynamic that had already reached our daughter either. He removed the scheduled transfers that depended on him. He canceled the monthly transfer to Diane and Robert, $600 for household expenses. He canceled the transfer to Amanda, $375 to help her cover rent and groceries. He canceled the future payments for Logan's activities, $200 a month. The family cell phone plan, which between several lines and devices came out to almost $150 a month, he left noted to separate the next day. There were months when the help reached almost $1,300. Not always with the same excuse, but always with the same habit. Michael pang. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he closed the laptop and looked at me. I cannot keep going like this anymore, he said. Not after what they did to Julia. I took his hand. It is okay, I told him. I am with you. That night the apartment felt strange, not entirely peaceful, but not tense like before either. The next day was Logan's birthday. We were not going to go, and the deposit they took for granted was not going to go through anymore. Logan's birthday passed without us going. That Saturday we tried to keep the house quiet for Julia. We ate together, watched a movie, and Michael was quieter than normal. The next morning my cell phone started vibrating nonstop. I looked at the screen and saw that Amanda had posted a very long publication on Facebook. It was one of those posts where the whole story is not told, but everything is arranged so that someone else looks bad. According to Amanda, Michael had thrown a tantrum and left them without support right before Logan's birthday. According to her, we had brought adult problems to a child and had ruined his day. And then she mentioned Julia. Julia, a 9-year-old girl. She said that Julia had refused to help her cousin, and that it had hurt Logan a lot. I kept looking at the posts with my heart racing. It angered me that they used my daughter's name in something she had not caused. I kept reading. Diane commented, "We thought we raised him better." Robert wrote something about being abandoned by his own son. It was hard to read that without thinking about all the months Michael had been paying part of their expenses. Several relatives left vague messages of support. Others asked what had happened. Amanda answered with sadness, but without telling the full facts. Michael was behind me reading over my shoulder. He stood very still. Then my phone rang. It was one of Michael's cousins, one of the few who did not get involved in family fights. She had been at the party and had also seen the post. "Sarah," she told me in a low voice. "I just wanted to let you know. Logan made a scene yesterday." I closed my eyes. "Why?" "He wanted Julia's computer. Seems he was expecting it. I do not know who told him that, but when he saw it did not arrive, he screamed, cried, and demanded they buy him one." I breathed slowly. "So it was not that we ruined the party," I said. "He got mad because he did not get a computer worth almost $1,600. "Yes," she answered. And Amanda is leaving that part out. When I hung up, Michael sat at the kitchen table as if he needed to before saying something. Then he spoke very quietly. "They are saying I never helped." I turned around. "What?" He showed me the screen. Amanda had written that Michael had never lifted a finger for them, that he never supported them, that he was never there when they needed him. That was what hit him. Not the comments, not the public shame, the lie. It hurt him that all those years were reduced to a single phrase. Michael did not explode. He did not yell. He just looked at his cell phone in silence. I stayed close. Setting boundaries with his family was new for him. Comments kept coming in. Some supported Amanda, others asked questions, others seemed to be there just for the conflict. Julia came into the kitchen rubbing her eyes, and I turned my phone face down. She did not need to see adults arguing about her, as if she were an object. Michael watched her walk to the bathroom. Then he picked up his phone. "I am going to reply," he said. I swallowed hard. "Okay." He typed slowly. Not furious, not messy, just tired of keeping quiet. He wrote that Julia had been wrapping her computer because Diane told her she had to give it to Logan, that Robert was present, that Diane told her if she refused she could not call her grandma anymore, that Julia had cried, scared and confused. Then he wrote that he had supported the family financially for years. He put the amounts for that month not to show off, but because Amanda was saying he had never done anything. $600 for his parents, $375 for Amanda, $200 for Logan's activities, and almost $150 for the cell phone plan. At the end he added one line. "I have receipts, but I am not going to post them here publicly." For a minute nothing happened. Then the comments section started moving. Some kept defending Amanda. Others deleted what they had posted. Several preferred to send private messages, but there were also those who asked the same thing. "They told a little girl that?" Another person wrote. "Did they really make her feel like she would lose her grandma?" Some did the math in the comments, and that did not help Amanda. Several relatives sent private messages to Michael. Some apologized for giving their opinion without knowing. Others just asked if it was true. A few commented in public that it was wrong. Amanda stopped replying. Diane and Robert too. And for the first time since the early morning before, the house felt less heavy. Almost 3 weeks passed before the doorbell rang. Michael and I looked at each other. We both knew something uncomfortable was coming. He opened the door. Diane and Robert were in the hallway of the building. Amanda was behind them. Diane was holding a simple cake still in its packaging. "Hi," she said with a sweet voice. "We brought you this." Michael looked at the cake and then at his mom. "What do you want?" Diane's smile trembled. "We want to talk. We understand now that we all reacted poorly." Diane took a small step toward the entrance. "We should put this behind us. There is no point in going on like this." Michael did not move. "No." Diane's eyes narrowed. "Michael, ever since you got married, it is impossible to talk to you." Michael breathed slowly. "You can talk to me. What I am not going to do is pretend nothing happened." "We came to fix things," Diane said. "It does not look like you came for Julia," he replied. "It looks like you came for the deposits." Diane's face tensed. "That is not fair." Michael raised a hand. "If you want to have contact with Julia, it will be with conditions." Amanda opened her mouth but did not say anything. "We are not going to keep giving you money. That is over." Amanda's jaw clenched. "You are going to apologize to Julia," Michael continued. "And it is not going to be to justify yourselves. For now, visits will be with Sarah and me present. You are not going to be alone with her. You are not going to take her to buy ice cream to talk to her separately. You are not going to make her feel guilty. You are not going to pressure her. And if I hear another request for money or an attempt to manipulate my daughter, the visits are over." Robert looked uncomfortable. Amanda's face was red with anger and embarrassment. Diane's voice became harder. "You changed." Michael nodded once. "Yes," he said. "I had to." Diane held out the cake one last time, but Michael did not take it. Diane's hand dropped. They left without fixing anything that afternoon. They still took another month to accept the conditions. Diane first sent long messages, the kind that start with "I just wanted to" and end up shifting the blame. Michael did not answer everything. He repeated the same thing. Apologies without justifications, supervised visits, and no money. He also made another thing clear. Julia did not have to protect the adults' feelings. If she did not want to see them yet, she would not see them. If she did not want to hug them, no one was going to force her. In the end, they accepted. The apology was awkward. Diane looked at Julia and told her, "I am sorry for making you feel bad about the computer." Michael interrupted her before she could continue. "Just apologize, Mom." Without justifying it, Diane pressed her lips together but nodded. "I am sorry," she said again. "I should not have told you that." Robert also apologized more quietly. "I should have said something and I did not." Julia was sitting between Michael and me. She did not answer much. She just nodded. And that was fine. No one forced her to hug them or to say that everything was forgotten. 6 months after that night, our life was different, not because we moved or because we earned more money. It was different because we stopped paying for expenses that were not our responsibility. Without the monthly transfers and the extra help, our home felt less tight. We did not become rich. Between the two of us, we had stable incomes, but those $1,300 a month were felt. They did not leave us at zero, but they did force us to postpone our own things. We took Julia on short trips. One Saturday, without a long weekend, we left early for the mountains before the roads got busy. Another weekend we went to a simple cabin in the foothills, with jackets for the cool weather and food without much planning. Nothing luxurious, just peaceful trips that we used to postpone because there was always another deposit pending. We spent more time together. Julia looked lighter. Not everything changed from one day to the next, but she stopped looking at her computer as if she had to apologize for having it. Michael also changed. He was less tense, less willing to ask for forgiveness for everything. He learned little by little that he did not have to keep paying so they would not get mad at him. Diane and Robert tried several times to go back to the way things were. Small comments, phrases thrown into the air, attempts to slip through any crack. But every time Michael held the boundary. With time they adjusted. Now they see Julia every 2 weeks, always with us present. For now, no private conversations, no "we are taking her for a little bit," no whispered guilt trips in the car. It is not perfect. There are still awkward moments. Diane sometimes bites her tongue and it shows. Robert still speaks little, but they no longer make the rules, and Julia enjoys seeing them more like this. Not because everything is forgotten, but because she knows we are there. Amanda and Logan also had to adjust. Without our money, Amanda canceled outings, extras, expensive activities, and little luxuries she already took for granted. They never lacked the basics. Amanda had an income. What she lost was the margin that Michael covered for her every month. With time, it became clear that they had more options than they claimed. What they no longer had was Michael's money available every month. Our house is calmer now. Julia feels safe. Michael stopped being available for everything and everyone. And Diane understood that she could not use being a grandmother again to pressure Julia. Sometimes I still wonder if Michael did the right thing by cutting off their financial support all at once, if he was too harsh or if, in reality, he took too long. I also wonder if supervised visits were enough or if we should have walked away completely. I do not know if we did everything perfectly. What I do know is that since that night, Julia stopped carrying something that was not hers to carry. Yeah. Comment. Hey everyone, I wanted to share what stayed with me most after this one. I've learned that setting firm boundaries is actually an act of deep love, especially when it protects our children. You deserve to feel respected in your own family. And so do the little ones who trust you completely. Sometimes the most responsible choice we can make is to stop patterns that quietly harm the people we care about. Choosing peace over endless giving has brought more healing to my own home than I ever expected. It's okay to step back and say no, even when it disappoints others for a while. What really matters is teaching our kids that their feelings and belongings have value. I hope this reminds you to reflect on where you might need to draw a gentle but clear line in your life. Taking that step might feel scary at first, but it opens the door to real calm and self-respect. You're not alone if you're craving a quieter, healthier chapter for your family. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.